So, dear delegates, we have a most dynamic technocrat with us today as chief guest, whose focus area is simplification in regulation. Like he himself is simple and humble. And he is none other than Dr. Vijay Somani, Drug Controller General of India. Although he is well known in the entire world for his sense of knowledge, but his formal introduction I'll be giving at the end when his turn comes to speak. On behalf of all the 6 associations, Dr. Saab, we welcome you. And I think we are creating the history also. First time 6 associations joining together, and that through webinar, and that too you are the chief guest. We are not able to have a formal welcome like flower bouquet or Smriti Chin or shawl on your shoulder, but हम अपने आप को समर्पित करते हैं. So that should be taken as your welcome. What is rare disease? Rare disease is a disease that affects a small percentage of the population in many countries. In some part of the world, an orphan disease is a rare disease whose rarity means there is a lack of support from healthcare sector as well as from government also. Orphan drug concept came for treatment of rare disease, normally being supported by government funding. I remember when Honorable Nadda Saab was our health minister, he made the announcement of new health policy about 5 years back. And I'm lucky that we are very lucky that he increased the percentage of GDP from 1% to 2.5%, which has to be achieved by 2025. And in that, there is a mention of rare disease and orphan drug also. But unfortunately, we have seen the paper, but it has not taken any shape so far. But the way things are happening, I am fully confident that something miraculous will come. First time after 4 years, national level associations are together. As I told you in the beginning, in FICCI, we had one seminar in which all the associations were there, and Mr. Dilip Sanghavi was honored by us. And in that particular seminar, all the government departments were also presented, like DOP, Health Ministry, Commerce, NPPA, and CDSO, and Dr. Y.K. Gupta was also there. So these type of program, my humble submission to person like Sudarshan Jain and Krishna Reddy and Mahesh Doshi, that we should have at least one such event once in a year where government sees the unity of the industry, that they don't have any different agenda. The agenda is common, and that is the patient. The architect of today's webinar is none other than Professor Ramaiah, whose introduction I'll be giving after a few seconds, although many of you must be knowing him. But while selecting the speakers, utmost care has been taken to ensure that he represents at least one particular association, national level association. At least he has the basic knowledge of the subject, who is acceptable to the audience also. And we have to maintain the time management is very correct, because only one person who is the chief guest today, when we call anybody as a guest, so he has the prerogative, he has the freedom, he has the liberty to speak any number of minutes. But other people have been restricted to the time management. Professor Ramaiah, who is the representing Indian Organization of Rare Disease, has been given the time slot of 15 to 20 minutes. All other 7 speakers have been given 7 minutes. You are all sensible, very mature, very dedicated technocrat, as well as the office bearer of various associations. So if you are trying to take more time, it means you are trying to eat away time of Dr. Somani. So my humble submission to all of you, rather, yesterday I talked to Mahesh Bhai. Mahesh Bhai said, Viranchi is representing IDMA, so I don't have to speak. I said, no, you are the national president of a national body. At least few words from you, the people are eager to listen. So similarly, Krishna Reddy also, Venkat Jasti Saab is there, who is the founder of BDMA along with Dr. Subba Reddy and CC Reddy. But Krishna Reddy also will speak for a few minutes. So we have to maintain the time management. This is my humble submission. And the speakers have the abundance knowledge. And we have to be very precise now. Now coming back to the introduction of Professor Ramaiah, today's session is mainly being covered by Professor Ramaiah, as I told you, who is holding double PhD degree with management background. Currently, Professor Ramaiah is Associate Professor in the Department of Experimental Clinical Pharmacology, College of Pharmacy, Graduate Faculty, and he is also worked in the industry. A man who has got academic experience as well as industry experience. He is even teaching to the postgraduate students also. He has worked with the pharma industry for more than 22 years in India as well as in US. IORD is the baby whose namkaran was done by Pandit Ramaiah. Although he's professor, but since he created this organization, so I'm calling him as a Pandit. While he advocates public policy for rare disease patients, and he spends a lot of time to promote and develop molecules for rare disease. He stands committed that in any company or any government or any institutions need his technology for this good cause. He will not charge anything. He will give free of cost so far as it is going to be used for the rare disease patient. So that type of philanthropist nature he is having. And for your information, Dr. He travels at his own cost. He doesn't put any expenses to any organization. So if I start reading his profile, it will take half an hour. So just, he's a humble man. He's a dedicated person. His heart throbs for the rare disease patient. And he 24/7, now he is from USA. Now it is 1:30 in USA and still on the job, only for the good cause. So Dr. try to confine your deliberation from 15 to 20 minutes. 20 minutes is the upper limit. Over to Professor Ramaiah.
Respected DCGI, Dr. Somani, and distinguished speakers and audience whom I cannot see. Sri Sikiji, for your kind introduction, I thank you forever. COVID-19 pandemic is unwelcome reminder for all of us. The health matters for all individuals and to the global economy. Policy matters that include international, national, and local decision makers wishing to contribute to healthy recovery can now take decisive steps by shaping the way we live, work, and consume. Having said, let me come to the point of conversation for today's webinar. We urge the government to acknowledge the universal challenges faced by people living with rare diseases who are already marginalized from rare disorders framework in the world. So now, most likely you might have seen cartoons like this. The reason why you see cartoons like this, because most people have the common questions which do not know many people. In India, the phrase rare diseases was not in use until 1990. Rather, physicians refer them to genetic disorders. Therefore, we conducted a sample survey to understand the basic knowledge of people from Indian origin on rare diseases. We published our results, and it is surprising that 24% of people never heard the word rare diseases, and 40% people never heard the orphan drugs. That's a sad but real story. Now, here is you can see the cartogram. The world population is represented by the size of the country. You see India and China prominently visible. This is important consideration as we will see later. Now, the same thing I show you in a different form. There are more people living in this side of a circle than any outside the world. Now, Dr. Sikriji already mentioned about the rare diseases. I quickly go through that one for the introduction purposes. There are more than 7,000 rare diseases are known today. 300 million rare disease patients just globally. However, in India, more than 80 to 90 million rare disease patients. Unfortunately, out of 7,000 rare disease, only 5% have treatments but no cures. 60% of rare disease people are children who do not see the fifth birthday. Unfortunately, again, 80% of these are genetic disorders. Now, why orphan drugs are important? Orphan drugs are drugs to treat the rare diseases. Now, here is the number of various sales of the orphan drugs, which perhaps unnecessary for me to dwell on it, most likely being all in pharmaceutical companies would know much better than I do. So now, even then, most people think that the market is small. I don't think its market is small, but the patient population is small. Therefore, incentives to be given to the pharma so that they can make the drugs for the rare disease patients. And that is the origin of birth of Orphan Drug Act. Some orphan drugs are very, very expensive and most people cannot afford at all. Now, just one few seconds I will take about our organization, thinking that some people may not know. IWAD is registered as an NGO dedicated to the serving rare disease population in India. Its mission is very simple: improve the quality of lives of people living with rare diseases. When we started this, there were many unanswered questions. Where do we go to get the answers? In search of the answers, we traveled abroad to learn from experts and then apply what works for India. For the 10 years we just spent in raising the awareness of the problem. We are members of virtually every prestigious patient organization in the world. Now, in addition to the awareness, we do a lot of advocacy. For example, I cannot mention only few things what happened in the last 15 years. The first landmark event, I can say that we have conducted a scientific conference in Lucknow, and where the orphan drugs were first introduced in any scientific conference that I know in India. And we are also lucky that President Kalam became a spokesperson for rare disease patients. Unfortunately, he passed away 3 months after. His death anniversary was 3 days ago this month. A white paper detailing the rare diseases policy for India was unveiled. A very important event at the Pharmaxil. The DG of Pharmaxil at the time, Dr. Appaji, brought industry, policymakers, regulators, international representatives of patients on one stage. In face-to-face explored the needs and wants of all stakeholders. Twice I had the opportunity to address Pharmaxil at their annual general body meeting in Hyderabad. Due to time constraints, I bring few events to your attention. We brought issues related to rare diseases to Prime Minister and Vice President and 2 health ministers, 2 health secretaries, and so on. But one thing I must tell you here, at CDSC, during Dr. G.N. Singh's time, in 2017, the terms rare diseases, orphan drugs were included in the Drugs and Cosmetic Act amendment. The following year, I believe it was Dr. Ishwar Reddy's time, orphan drugs were introduced in the new drugs and clinical trial rules. We thank CDSCO for that purpose, for this. We also raised the awareness and spoke to state and other state governments, Telangana, Andhra, Delhi, and other places. And also, one thing is that in NRIs play a very important role. When Prime Minister Modi came to USA after his first election, he was talking about the role of NRIs. Therefore, I must say that then there are 3.1 million NRIs are in USA according to US Census. 1% of is growing at the alarming rate. With the support of Indian Consulate General, we communicated to the Health Minister about the rare disease issues. I'm very pleased to say that Governor of State of Minnesota proclaimed that November 24, 2016 is the India Rare Disease Day in Minnesota. In fact, we are active partners in passing the bill Rare Disease Advocacy Commission to the state of Minnesota. To the best of my knowledge, there are no such advisory committees from patient organizations to the state. And I can go on many things, but here is a summary of what things we raised. Orphan Drug Act, incentives to the new pharma, incentive to the Indian pharma to take generic drugs, include rare disease in the upcoming Indian census, diagnosis, United Nations, WHO representation, partnerships, and variety of things. Now, I come to the essential medicines. What is the essential medicine? What is the origin of that? Perhaps you might know that colonial medicine was closely related to military medicine. The use of quinine hypothesis for malaria representing single most important tool for European imperial expansion into the African interior, maintaining the supplies of quinine plantation of the Cinchona started. The British Empire created a list dividing um, drugs which are regarded as essential from drugs which are not essential to justify importation of manufacture in the wartime. And now I must tell you that the Dr. Mahler, a Danish physician, served as a 3 times as Director General for WHO. He was the person who conceived the essential medicine concept. The purpose of that one is he emphasized the need for essential drugs list, keeping in mind the health requirement of developing countries. Just to think of clean water, adequate housing, and safe food supply, absence of such basic necessities constitutes humanitarian failure within the language of universal human rights. So does essential medicine list. And next, who essential WHO essential medical list, they put every 2 years, they change it. Currently, there are 162 countries have the essential medicine list. There are 3 different lists: core list, complementary list, healthcare providers, children's list, and also cancer, which is not included here. The first essential medicine list, WHO started in 1977, but India started in 1996. So, without going too much, because of the time, I might skip a lot of slides that I prepared, but I will go through as fast as I can. Essential medical list. Why the list is needed? The WHO model list guides national list. The development of national essential medical list, public sector procurement program, schemes that reimburse Medicare costs, the medicine supply system of UNICEF. So now, national model list was put by WHO 2019. They have 460 products. Now, the next national essential medicine list. Why this is national essential list can serve as a reference document for medicines of national importance so that administrative, scientific, and pharmaceutical and logistics efforts are appropriately directed, leading to optimum utilization of the resources available for the effective healthcare delivery. Disease burden is an important consideration for identifying these essential medicines. Diseases that are highly prevalent are emerging diseases qualify to include in the national essential medicine list. India has essential medical list in 2015. In that one, they have 870 medicines were listed. I skipped the USA because USA does not really have an essential medical list. What are rare diseases? Of course, you already know quite a few of them. I just give for introduction purpose here. So far, we have said rare diseases, but we do not know what the rare disease constitute. What is the definition of rare diseases? Here you can see every country has got their own definition. It started with US. It says that any disease that is less than 200 patients is a rare disease from their definition. So if you look at that one, that means about 6 people for every 10,000. Similarly, European Union has 5 for 10, and Japan has got 4 for 10,000. Now, India has actually said 2 numbers. ICMR said 200,000, whereas CDSC defined as 500,000 for 1.3 billion people. That means it's a 4 times US population and 5 times European population and 10 times Japanese population. If you use their definition, it can be anything 40 to 140 patients for every 10,000 patients. But the question is that why do we need this rare disease definition in the first place? Let me go through why the need came here. Early 1980s, there was nothing like rare diseases anywhere in the world. This is the same situation as we have today in India. You may recall what Martin Luther King, Nelson Mandela said, one person can make a difference. A housewife by name Abby Myers had two children with Tourette's syndrome, which is not life threatening but socially not accepted, particularly children. Abby tried many medications from various sources, but none were effective except one experimental drug from J&J. Unfortunately, J&J discontinued the production as it was not approved for the disease that was intended for. Or they are not willing to develop for conditions such as Tourette's syndrome, which has very small population, because they do not expect that they recoup their investment. Abby found that she was not alone. Many others who are in the same situation, disease may be different, but needs are the same. Disease may be different, but needs are same. Correlation with parent and other rare conditions, Abby formed a national organization for rare diseases and fought with the Congress and convinced it that unless the government provides incentives, drug companies are not going to make medications for rare diseases. That is how Orphan Drug Act came into into the existence. Now, I'll show you the incentives given by the US Orphan Drug Act, and others followed with them. It gives 7 years exclusivity and tax breaks, and also R&D grants and other benefits that given. Again, I'm pretty sure that being all of you are in this business, you might know more than I do. So I go to the next slide. Um, Now you can see that I already said that the how much orphan drugs cost and then their prices. Here is I can show you that the average patient annual cost increased 26% in 20 years. Orphan drugs are 25% more expensive than non-orphan drugs. Today, 88% of orphan drugs cost more than 10,000 per year per patient. Now, here is another thing I want to show it to you: the cost of the revenues generated by the orphan drugs, which is a little bit older slide, but you can see that they're all in billions competition. The impact of small patient population is offset by the higher prices. There are fewer, if any, competition, and there is a higher level of unmet need. Companies investing in rare diseases have been able to maximize the sales of potential of existing drugs by repositioning them into the additional rare diseases. So now policy makers have a dilemma because at present, as you know, India's healthcare budget stands only 1.1 with the promise to make it to 2.5 by 2020 for the GDP. Until that time, health budgets are insufficient to provide care for all. Allocating resources to treat persons with a rare and expensive disorder over a person with a more common, less expensive disorder is problem for policymakers. If understand, yet rare disease patients, just like any other patients, deserve equal justice. Cost of orphan drugs are expensive. We hear all the time. Let us examine how we can make the rational decision and how we can invest our healthcare budget for rare diseases. Here I show you a graph plotted annual cost versus number of patients. If you look at the there are very few diseases which cost up to $600,000 per annum per person. How many people can afford that kind of? However, I just wanted to show you this expansion of this particular one that is only under $50,000 per person per year. You can see there are many diseases you can cover in a very short period. So there is a way to get the funding for various rare diseases, not just complaining all the time that they are very, very expensive. There are ways to do that. This is the point I want to make with this one. If you just go back again, expand this one, you can see many diseases that cost only $5,000 or less. Okay, so now estimated prevalence and patient number. 89% of rare diseases are very rare, less than 1 in 100,000. 98% of rare disease patients have most prevalent common rare diseases up to 400 plus diseases. So what this means is most definition you have seen earlier describe the same diseases. There are more than one for every 100,000 people. So definition is really not a critical thing. But why do we need this one? In order for the government or anybody to have give incentives, they have to have some definition. Otherwise, I can say, hey, I'm a rare disease patient, I deserve it. So now, idea of essential medicines go very quickly. The idea of essential medicine for rare diseases actually originated from Rare Disease International. The proposal, let me give you history behind Rare Disease International was brainchild of European Organization for Rare Diseases. RDA is a global alliance. RDA is a global alliance. It advocates rare diseases as international public health priority. RDA has more than 60 member organizations from over 40 countries that in turn represent the rare diseases patient groups in more than 100 countries. Recently, on 2009, RDI signed a memorandum of understanding with WHO. The intent of the MOU is to address public health needs and issues related to rare diseases to ensure achievement of universal health care that is inclusive of rare diseases. The MOU proposes the establishment of WHO collaborative global network for rare diseases using structured approach to group rare diseases by therapeutic area that encompass all rare disease and leave no one behind. Okay, now medicines for rare diseases. Will expert committee will consider the small, often marginal clinical benefits justify inclusion as essential medicine? Can medicine for rare diseases be included on a national list of essential medicine? Yes, if you ask me, I say answer is yes, because the number of rare disease patient population is small. There is no doubt about it. But their burden far exceeds the combined burden of TB and malaria patients combined. Further, rare disease are lifelong diseases unlike others. So there are challenges for expert committee to include rare diseases in the essential medicine list. Here are some things they should be considering. How do medicines for rare diseases fit within the definition of essential medicines, meeting the priority health needs of the population? Will identifying medicines as essential offer some leverage to improve access to effective orphan medicines in low and middle income countries? Will addition of several medicines for the treatment of orphan diseases to the model list of essential medicine for children be included? So now I'll skip this one. Can there be essential medicine for rare disease? Yes, depending on certain scenario. If cost effective, medicine should be included. Cost effective, but treatment is costly. Medicine listed ration its use and rely on special funds. Cost effective medicine not listed, then treatment through a supplementary list. No listing, no systematic public supply, or no reimbursement, then obviously it's the private sector goes there. Now, this is one thing I like to mention to you, even though time is very short. A friend of mine who is a health economist calculated the value of life and economic value of life for cost benefit. Value for life saved, EPS says that 5.5 to 6.9 millions. Transportation Department 6 millions, FDA 7.9 millions, and value of year of life quality years in clinical trials in 1990s is $50,000 per year. Now in 2000, 100,000. In 2012, it is 129,000. Here is the thing what I would like to point out to you. When it is your life, what is its price? Now, there are other, don't have time, I will skip some of these things and I will go to the important thing, at least in my mind. China released their first national list in 2 years ago, and they have 121 rare indications in it. Allow foreign clinical data in new drug application, shorten and streamline the process for approval, import of orphan drugs, encourage Western orphan drug developer to bring orphan drugs into the country. Okay, India versus China, this is not a new thing for you. Similar in cost of labor, infrastructure, and tax. India has more experience with WHO, lists 335 products manufactured in India, only 23 manufactured in China. Indian pharmaceutical companies, if I tell anything, it's like telling the how to do puja to the priest. So I just leave this one to you. And now, where India go from here with all this data? Here is some orphan drugs who's who are ready if anybody interested in to use that as generic drugs. Is a orphan drug exclusively expired long time ago, and there are more opportunities for Indian industry. There are more than 200 WHO essential medicine list was unaffordable in nearly all LIC, low income countries. One third of global population is lacking regular access to EM. In LMIC, only 58% of EM are available in the public sector. Medicines account for one fourth of all healthcare expenditures globally. Now, you can change the situation if you wish. Let me tell you something important and ask all pharma companies to consider how and where the future for pharma is going to be. It is unrealistic to expect another $1 billion drug for common disease. As you know, the so-called $1 billion drug, for example, diabetes, hypertension, do not work for everybody. They fail more often than you think. Recently, you heard the terms personalized medicine, precision medicine, individualized medicine, etc. These are all subclass of common diseases and will roll into rare disease at one time in the future. Therefore, get prepared for looking into the future, not the yesterday. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let me summarize what I just said in last 25 minutes. I introduced our organization, its services and accomplishments, then gave a brief overview of Rare Diseases Orphan Drug Act, talked about WHO list essential medicine, and finally need for essential medicine list for rare diseases. Here I like to propose and seek your support for the following in the best interest of Indian rare disease patients and the Indian pharma industry. Now, you recall 3 days ago, Prime Minister Modi said, Indian pharma industry is an asset not just for India, but for the entire world. It has played a leading role in reducing the cost of medicines, especially for developing countries. Now, here what I would like to propose. In short term, I like you to see that creating the essential medicine list for rare diseases and become a global leader. For the clinical trials, rare diseases, provide protocol assistance, grant program for phase 1 and 1 to 3, and patient involvement, which is non-existent, unapproved orphan drugs for compassionate use. In fact, about 2 months ago, we have actually requested our Dr. Somani to consider this to be included in the new rules of clinical trials. For orphan drugs, the availability of generic orphan drugs in India, I believe that BDMA is going to talk about this. New drug development, repurposing drugs is very lucrative and very opportunistic, but I think India can cash on that one. The long term must be Orphan Drug Act should come, dedicated units, Office of Rare Diseases Research, Office of Orphan Drug Development. The first one can be under ICMR. The second one would be under SCO. Diagnostic and undiagnosed rare diseases, prevention programs, become a global advocate for rare diseases by taking active role in WHO and United States level. Now, this is my last slide. I just want to acknowledge the people who are listening to this webinar, and of course, my managing committee of the IOAD who have been very supportive to me. And to prepare this lecture, I have consulted several experts outside the India, and of course, finally, I thank for the speakers who are going to talk, and Also, I thank Dr. Vijay Sumani, and I request him to consider some of the plead that I made in this presentation. Thank you.